Bollockers, it is Howard Smith. I am back for yet another Talking Bollocks, where I will be talking bollocks. Hello there, hello, have you missed me? Have you? Oh, cause you have, haven't you? You've missed me. Yes, I am back for another session of loads of bollocks. So let's do it. I am Howard H. Smith, lead singer of Acid Rain, a UK thrash band about to sign a record deal again and put out a new album. Yeah! There is a prospective release date, but I cannot tell you when, but it is definitely in 2019, and it's not in December, and it's not in November. Apart from then, I can't tell you when it is. So there you go. I've narrowed it down. Well, not to 10 other months, because we're already... right, okay, fuck it. I can't tell you when it is, but I will when I can. I also do stand-up comedy as Keith Platt. Go to keithplatt.co.uk. Does anybody go to websites anymore? And go to acidrain.co.uk. Really? Why would you? Website? Go on social media. And there's also, of course, there's Talking Bollocks. Talking Bollocks, which is at Talking Bollocks on Twitter. As somebody private messaged me on Instagram this week to say, I'd like to follow you on Twitter. Can you tell me what how to find you on Twitter? And I thought, well, you know, you should fucking know, really. I mention it enough. And you know what? I gave him the handle, and he messaged me back and said, oh, I'm actually already following you. What a twat I am. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, you know, this shit does actually happen. I suppose really I should say who that is. So that was Mr. Robinson 226. You fucking cunt. Yeah, there's not been a... Well, so here I am, your favourite lovable cunt, and it is talking cunting bollocks. I haven't had enough cunts in the fucking podcast for a while. Well, apart from this one right here, every single time. Know what I mean, kids? Anyway, first up, what is the news from the world of Howard? I'll go on to the world of metal. The world of Howard is record deal. Already mentioned that. Tell you what else. Oh, fuck me. I realised, well, I've been trying to listen to mixes of the new Acid Rain album, and I was having to punch my amp on my stereo. I have separates, old hi-fi, dear. You know, it's very old school. Sony turntable, Technics graphic, Technics, remember them. Technics CD player, hey, Technics, remember them. And I had a Technics amp, and I realised that I bought that setup when I was still a teenager. It served me over 30 years. And I thought, I've got to stop punching this amp. A, I feel a bit bad, which is stupid. It's an inanimate object, you fuckwit Howard. But B, I need to sort my life out. So I found the one I wanted, Sony, went down to the good people of Richer Sounds. Love those people. Always get my bits of hi-fi from Richer Sounds. And I picked up a Sony amp. And the one thing that did it for me, that really did it for me, is... Now, this might be like, you know, you complete tech nerds out there might just go, yeah, and, obviously. But for me, first amp purchase in over 30 years, what really sealed the deal, the motherfucker is Bluetooth enabled. Have I been having some fun? My fucking laptop now goes through my stereo. My phone goes through my fucking setup. But not only that, but I realised the other day that if I turn my Bluetooth on my phone and select the amp on my phone, it turns the amp on from out of nowhere. It just comes on. I mean, I know I'm sounding like I'm about 80 right now, and I am aware of Bluetooth technology. It's just having it integrated into that amp is just so fucking cool. It's look, you're getting my enthusiasm, right? Yeah, it's a big deal for me, okay? Be happy for me. Come on, be happy for me. This is all about me. Anyway, moving on. Thank you to Chris Toomey, top bollocker, top man, posted me a ticket to Bill Burr at the Royal Albert Hall because he wasn't able to go. How awesome was that? Until the day of the gig when I got a cancellation I got a cancellation show, and it turned out I couldn't go either. But thanks for the ticket, Chris. I've still got it. I'm going to put it on my ticket wall anyway. But thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. So, away from the world of Howard, let's go to the world of metal. What's been happening in the last month? Well, I'll tell you what's been happening. Sebastian Bach, he formerly of Skid Row, and he who forms part of a long-standing bet that I have with Godless, This was in Blabbermouth. Sebback finds piece of Kiss merchandise that he thought he'd lost, and literally a picture of him outside his fucking garage. Right now, I'm not going to go off on a Kiss rant, okay? I've done enough piece of merch. Pantera, whatever. Is this an idea for possibly the worst heavy metal rock reality show ever? Do we basically go and find old and aging rock stars and basically say, right, what did you think you'd lost? Or do we just get them to rummage around? I mean, the older the rock star, I know where I'm going here, but it's going to be like, well, Gene Simmons, what have you lost apart from your sense of perspective? I mean, just going round rock stars' houses, seeing what's missing. I could just see it. Yeah. Let's go round to Ted Nugent's house. Ted, what have you lost? Oh, your sanity. Clearly. Who else should we go and visit? Oh, hello, it's Lars Ulrich. What have you lost? Your ability to rehearse or play the drums, if you ever had it. You did have it. We know you did. We heard you. We saw you. Learn to do it again, you lazy bastard. There's all sorts of people that we could go round and visit. We could go round and visit Baby Metal. Probably not a good idea. Man of my age turning up. And have to go around the parents' house, wouldn't we? Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I could go on all day for this. The point I'm making is, really, is this what we've come to now? Is this what fucking counts as news? We're just turning into mainstream bullshit fucking media in the world of metal, and I find it a bit annoying. Anyway, moving on, more positive. Dragonforce, Through the Fire and Flames, recently passed 100 million views on YouTube, and I'm going to say, quite rightly, if you are not... Oh, excuse me. I'm going to leave that in. Fuck it. If you are not one of the 100 million who has already seen on YouTube Through the Fire and Flames by Dragonforce, you have to do it. Please do it. It is fucking awesome. It really is. It's absolutely superb. I'm not particularly a Dragonforce fan. I'm not for, I'm not again. I am just an observer of the Dragonforce. And one of them saw us do a gig at the Dev one time, but there you go. Anyway, check it out. That is a hell of a fucking milestone. Any metal band getting 100 million views on YouTube has to be saluted. Dragonforce, I salute you. Also the BBC were peddling that same news story that everybody else was about death metal. It turns out that people who like death metal don't actually want to kill people and don't at any point actually want to enact any of the lyrics. What a fucking surprise. I mean, BBC in music makes people happy shocker. I don't know. We are so misunderstood as metalers. We really are. I mean, I get it, because from the outside looking in, you look at stuff like Cannibal Corpse and, you just the whole death metal thing, and then the church burnings and shit like that. Okay, fine, but that's not all of us. But we get tarred with that brush, and I do realise what it must look like if you are not au fait with the world of metal at all. If you're completely from outside of it, at times it must look pretty fucking mad, because we all look at it and sometimes think like, okay, there is shit there. I mean, naturecore. Hey, there is an old school Talking Bollocks reference right there. For those of you who've been here from back in the day, from day one, naturecore. That's right, it's a thing. Oh, it's a fucking thing, all right. I'm going to go off it on naturecore again. But seriously, naturecore, it's all songs about the woods and trees and Mother Earth and shit like that. I mean, basically any Testament song from around late 80s, early 90s. Oh, he said that, hasn't he? I certainly have. Fucking hell. Well, anyway, fuck it. So, yeah, by the way, I am on a fucking total big mouth vibe at the moment, in case you hadn't noticed. And if this is your first episode, well, it's not always like this, but it fucking is today. Anyway, next up, I'm just all over the map here, but I don't give a shit. Next up, Parkway Drive. Yes, Parkway Drive. Heavy metal band from Australia. Small residential development in the middle of town. Or possibly shit indie band. the name doesn't really help, does it? It could be one of those three. It could be all of those three. But it most definitely is a metal band from Australia. And after all the hoo-ha! Because you got your head right up it! Oh, fucking hell. She's got a great fucking ass! Sorry. Some of you will know what all of that was about. Who? What am I? A fucking owl? Anyway, Parkway Drive. Tangent fans should be happy. Parkway Drive. I decided to go. Godless stated on the live podcast that their last album was as significant as album in metal as Vulgar Display of Power, or since Vulgar Display of Power. Now, obviously, that's an absolute load of fucking bollocks. I mean, it's Godless, for fuck's sake. I mean, he likes Good Tiger and Deaf Heaven. Come on. But anyway, and Dance Gavin Dance. Please give it a listen. Tell me it's shit. But anyway, Parkway Drive. I'm really fucking dragging this out. I apologise. Parkway Drive. Godless said that. And then I think it was John Andrews or somebody in the audience said, actually, the previous album's better. It's another John Andrews podcast. So I went back and I now have Parkway Drive on my phone, which is where I listen to quite a lot of music. And I can also listen to it through my stereo because my amp is Bluetooth enabled. Oh, I'm so fucking happy about that. Anyway, the album's Irie, so I went and found Irie, and I also went and found the latest album, Reverence. Now, I have to say, Irie, I like it. I'm getting in there. Reverence, I'm getting there. It needs a few more plays, but Irie's slightly ahead of it because it's had more plays. But, I mean, there are some songs I can take or leave. I really don't like the production, the fucking ridiculously clicky drums, the ridiculous electronic snare, and yeah, it does sound like fucking totally over Pro Tooled at times. But that being said, I am finding myself and you know, there are some very, very kind of there's some new metal influences in there, but there is some full on old school metal influences in there as well, which I really wasn't expecting. I've been pleasantly surprised. Irie opens with a track called Destroyer, and it builds up and builds up, and it's sounding fucking... The riff it goes into is just pure 80s metal. It's even possibly hair metal. I mean, I'm not kidding here, but it's done really well. So Parkway Drive, I am, and the reason for this is I have been looking at like albums I'm looking forward to and all that rest of it, and I just think I do need to change up some fucking influences here, because basically my favourite bands are on the last few albums or retiring or fucking dead. I mean, you know, it's getting that way. There needs to be some new blood brought in. So I'm on a quest to bring new blood into my musical metal taste, and I will share my journey with you. And please feel free to share your new metal tips with me as well. Not new metal, but you know what I mean, new blood. And on that note, I have got a mention of a band called Moontooth. Now, I'm not a fan of the first album at all, because the singer, it sounds like that fucking wanker out of Incubus, who just fucking hate it. Anyway, that's my spot-on impression, I'll have you know. But Moontooth have got a new album coming out. It's going to be coming out in, I think it's next week. Oh, that's no use to you, is it? Okay, so it's coming out last week of March 2019, whenever you're fucking listening to this. There's two singles that you can hear on YouTube at the moment. One is Or at the Angels, that's Or AWE, Or at the Angels. And the other song is Trust. Both of those are new singles from the new album. Give it a whirl. It's pretty mad. Okay, what else has been going on in the world? Charlie Benante and Carla from the Butcher Babies have gone public on their relationship. And I would just like to say, 0 fucks given by the Talking Bollocks podcast. This is not news. It's just two people in a relationship. Move on. So, Although I did see a funny comment of somebody saying, I bet Charlie's busting out the electrical tape. Clearly in a reference to the Butcher Baby's early career, where they put plastic tape over their nipples. Anyway, what else has been going on? Chris Fehn is no longer in Slipknot, and boy, did he decide to fly in the face of the proper way of doing things, and just basically took out lawsuits against other members. Boom! That's telling them you're going to leave, isn't it? You got a fucking lawsuit on you. The point I'm making is there's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from actions like that. And please take heed, Glenn fucking Tipton. Glenn, hairstyle like a fucking bird's house Tipton. He still hasn't got it through his fucking head why he wasn't asked to go back into Judas Priest. Because you left, you stupid old cunt. That's why. But he's determined that... Anyway, look, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's get back to Chris. Chris Fehn has left Slipknot. Another original member leaves. It's a shame. It's a real shame. He's citing Corey and fuckhead Clown as basically screwing him over. Now, to me, it sounds like a bit like a Dave Lombardo scenario, which is... You were badly advised. Dave, you were badly advised to try and hold your bandmates to ransom before going to Australia, and it pretty much turns out you were getting paid decently because there's been no lawsuits. Dave Lombardo has not had any lawsuits with Slayer. He fucked up. And also, Chris Fehn, I think, is going to have turned out to have been badly advised. Again, when will people learn? It's just people whispering in their ear going, oh, they must be making loads of money. You sure you're getting that money? You sure you're getting all of the money? It's people outside of bands whispering to people's ears, and it happens. It happens on every fucking level. It really fucking does. And funnily enough, the next story is that I was going to talk about was fucking Glenn Tipton. Pressed about whether he believes Tipton is still running... oh, sorry. I've just made a complete mess of myself, haven't I? I have really made a complete fucking dick of myself. It's not, is it? It's not Glenn Tipton who's what the fuck am I talking about? I'm talking about KK fucking Downing and his obsession. So Anyway, this is what he said. It was pressed about whether he believes Tipton is still running Priest from behind the scenes. Downing said, well, if Glenn isn't, who is? Robbie's never been a decision maker, or Ian, really, the band, or in the band ever. It was always me and Glenn, really. Well, it was, to start with. Then the decision-making was more Glenn and Jane, management company. But anyway, it's a sad state of affairs. It's well documented now, and I certainly wouldn't like to get any more quotes on Blabbermouth, because I think everybody's had enough of it. It will be what it will be. And finally, we get to the point. Yes, we all agree. Just let it go. KK, let it go. He seems to want to let it go. He doesn't want to be on Blabmouth anymore. And you know what? He's not going to be on the Talking Bollocks podcast anymore. I know I've said that before, so I'm kind of gone back on my own word, which makes me a bit of a fucking liar, but tough fucking shit. Right, okay, it's time for an interview. Let's get into the interviews. So, did these very recently. Not going to say when, because who gives a shit? But the point I'm making is I'm going to do these interviews in the order that they were done. So first up, got to the venue, wanted to see, I was supposed to interview Bobby. They'd gone off for dinner. Everything was put back a couple of hours. Thought I'd catch up with Michael from Flotsam Jetsam, but I was told that he had just gone into Camden Town because he was bored. I was told that by none other than Flotsam Jetsam vocalist Eric A.K. I said to Eric, do you mind? And he said, I'm so bored, I've already started drinking. And he had a little glass of Jack of Coke in his hand. And I said, well, look, do you fancy having a chat for my podcast? Explained very little. And he was like, yeah, cool, man. And do you know what we did? We just leant against a wall round the back of Isling Academy 2 and spent the next 50 minutes just having a chat. It's really cool. At one point, you might hear somebody go past. You might hear like a... or something like that. And that is actually Bobby walking past. You will also hear fucking vans turning up, a band unpacking. You'll hear a little courier bike appear. And, you know, my apologies, but, you know, we were wearing clip mics. This interview is completely spontaneous, totally unplanned. And you know what? Really enjoyable. Eric is one of my favourite all-time thrash vocalists. And it was just an absolute pleasure. Not even a spleasure. It was a pleasure to spend time in his company. There you go. Another word I've invented. Spleasure. It's a mixture of spending and pleasuring. Your spleasure. Oh, fuck it. I don't know. Anyway, this is a really cool chat that I really enjoyed. I hope you enjoy it too. With Eric from Flotsam Jetsam. So you find me stood outside the back of the venue with none other than singer from Flotsam Jetsam, Eric A.K. Eric, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Because we have only literally just met by accident. Because Michael's gone to Camden Town because he was bored. Great. Now, how is he? I mean, obviously you're touring the new album. It seemed like quite a quick turnaround for you guys, or am I? You know, am I confused about that? Because you've had some fairly chunky gaps between albums.
Yeah, this one wasn't too bad. We worked on it fairly quickly. We've actually already started working on the next one, so we're trying to stay ahead of ourselves as much as we can.
But that's kind of how it is, really, isn't it? It's being ahead of the game is just kind of keeping level with it.
Yeah, and you know, the studio work, the writing, and the creative process has really become our favorite part of the whole business. Touring is such a pain sometimes now because you know, everything's changed, and you really rely on people buying merch and all that. And the sitting in the studio creating songs is really one of the happiest moments of the music industry now. So we're gonna pump out as many records as we can because we love to do it.
Well, I know you yourself have had a sort of love-hate relationship with touring over the years, yeah. To say the least.
Yeah.
I'm not coming. Get another guy to do it. Ultimately, are you sort of, you know, where are you on that graph at the moment of kind of?
Right now, it's a little different situation because of our last couple of records. We're drawing more people. We're getting a little better guarantees, a little better venues. So it's starting to become a little more fun now for us.
Yeah.
You know, the playing tiny little 200-person dives is only fun for a while, and then you really start to get sick of it. But things are starting to look up for us. We're starting to gain a lot of fans. We've been on some really good tours, which is really great for us. We just did Hammerfall tour in the U.S. and Canada, and that gained a lot of fans for us. So as soon as we're done with this tour, we're going to headline a U.S. and Canada tour, and hopefully those Hammerfall fans will come see us. So.
Yeah, but that's something, you to me as an outsider, you seem to end up as a kind of perennial support band and doing a lot of support sets, certainly over here in Europe. And then the last tour you did over here was a headline, was your own headline tour, which was great to see.
Yeah.
And so in the US, you feel in sort of North America, you're getting back to that stage where it's going to take, because it's always a risk doing a headline tour. You know, your first one.
It's always a risk. You know, we like to do the support thing once in a while. Not only do we gain fans, but you know, we play 45, 50 minutes and we're done for the night.
Oh, know? That's the best bit.
And then we get to relax for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, relax.
So it's always a little more comfortable opening for somebody else. You have half the problems, half the worries, you know. But the ultimate goal, of course, is to headline tours and get those same numbers of people in. So that's what we're working on now. And we seem to be heading that direction very quickly. So This tour has been great for us, and great for Overkill, and great for Destruction.
It's such a strong bill.
Yeah.
For the UK, this is 3 bands who can all do headline tours in the UK.
Right, and even Overkill has told us, by themselves they do 400 or 500 people, and we're doing 800 to 1,200 every night.
Wow.
So it's great for everybody. It really is. And we of course are taking responsibility for some of those people. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not? Well, I think it's definitely. I mean, those of us with kind of older school fan bases as well. They know they're going to turn out for a bill like this.
Yes.
And so Overkill fans who aren't that bothered about the other 2 bands will come out anyway. And vice versa, you've all got fans who will come out for you anyway. But then I think there's also that other kind of maybe more new school fan who's going to go, well, look, I'm not really that deep into Overkill and Flotsam, but I love Destruction, so and you're there to impress, aren't you? You're there to win over fans.
Yes, and all 3 bands are in the same situation. They're all there's people going, I normally wouldn't go see Overkill, but Destruction of Flotsam's with them, so I'm coming.
Yes.
And vice versa, the same story with each band. And so we're all trying to win over the people who would not come see us by ourselves, but because we're with the package, they show up. And hopefully when we come by ourselves, those same people show up because we did a great job this time. So, So everybody's trying hard. Everybody's doing a great job every night. These bands are really easy to tour with. They're all friends,
I think last time I saw you guys, you were touring with Destruction.
Yeah.
So I mean, you all know each other over the years.
Oh yes.
And this would be an awesome US tour as well, for that matter.
It really would. We're talking about coming back over here in September with Overkill again, so that cool. might be something we're going to do. We're not sure yet, but it's been offered, and we're definitely exploring that option. But excuse me.
That's all right.
It kind of depends on how things go.
Yeah.
If our record takes off all of a sudden, maybe we'll go do something else. I don't know, but
the chart positions and everything. I mean, it seems with this album that there's just been a huge kind of, certainly again in Europe from what I've seen. You've had your best charting positions for years in various countries.
Yeah, and I really have not seen a bad review yet on the record, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody seems to like it, and like I said, we've already started writing on the next one. It's going to be just as good, if not better. So we're heading in the right direction. That's
awesome. I mean, it's great because I really do feel as a long time Flotsam fan. As well as having the chance to play with you all those years ago, for me it's kind of like this really is the sort of second heyday of the band, or rather the heyday of the band, because you never got a break when things were at their peak.
Right.
For me, anyway, you just never seemed to get a break. You would never kind of broke through. I mean, Quattro, Neil Kernan, everything was in place. It's a fucking storming album. It's an incredible album. And yet, it just seemed to pass a lot of people by. And now, it appears like it's almost like a kind of,
Yeah, and the strange thing, back then we were on MCA Records.
Yep.
And they were dumping a lot of money into us. They wanted us to be their Metallica,
Yeah.
And they were really gearing us up for that. We did 3 records with them. They're just like, this is the one. We're going to, Drift is the one we're going to do. And then they got bought out by, I think it was Seagram's.
Right.
And they went through the roster and just went, we never heard of this band, get rid of them. We never heard of these guys, get rid of them. You can keep Elton John, you can keep them, So it was really a huge smack in the face for us that we're building you up, and no, never mind.
Across 3 albums of how many years of your life, and you're working towards a common goal, you think.
Exactly, and we left there owing them like $2 million or something. It was ridiculous. So, our career has always been like that. We get to a certain point and a member quits, or management robs us, or an agent quit, or something. It's always something,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the meaning behind The End of Chaos, our new album, is that's all done now.
Right, okay.
We're starting a new leaf here, so.
No one's allowed to leave.
Yeah, no one's allowed to leave. No one's allowed to quit. So, and we're handling all the business and all the stuff that we relied on other people. We're handling all that ourselves now.
Yeah, so, makes sense.
And once we get to a point where it's a little too much for us, maybe we'll get some management and some professionals to operate that end of things for us. But for now, it seems to be working. We're climbing very quickly, and we have our finger on everything. We know what's going on with every aspect of the band, and there isn't any member of the band who doesn't care. Everybody wants to know exactly what's happening all the time. We know exactly what money's coming in, what money's going out.
That's good.
We know what our numbers are. We know what our place on the charts are. Everybody knows everything, and we care about it. And everybody is equally doing the writing and the press, and it seems like a single unit now instead of 5 different members.
That's awesome, and it also means that weight of organising everything is spread across the members as well. So one person doesn't feel like they're doing all this work and nobody cares and nobody's grateful. And
right,
we've all had the arguments.
Yeah, and everybody has a different job. So, and we all keep an eye on each other.
Yeah.
They make sure that I'm doing the interviews I'm supposed to be doing, and we make sure
and some you're not supposed to be doing.
Right, some you're not supposed to be doing. And we make sure that Spencer has his eye on the money. He's the money guy. He does all the numbers of everything.
Right.
And he makes sure that we know everything he's doing, and it's just very comfortable now.
Yeah.
We're all very good friends, and at the same time, nobody is harder on me than the band, and nobody's harder on the band than I am. So.
Yeah. No, I get that. But also, I think sometimes it's. That's really refreshing, but also you can fall into the habit of blaming management and blaming the label, and it can become a real kind of. It starts dragging everyone down, and you think, well, actually, in your situation, it really is a case of like, well, we're carrying the weight.
There are definitely some times with past management where they wanted us to go a certain direction, and we were like, no, we're too heavy for that. We're not going to do that. And looking back, we probably should have listened to them, because we'd be much bigger than we are now.
Yeah, I've had that. Yeah, I've had that.
So there's a lot of mistakes we've made over the years, and we try to take that experience and maybe not make those mistakes now. So.
But also, they're your mistakes.
They are.
You know what I mean?
Mistakes.
I mean, I'd rather look back. I'd rather look back on a career that has kind of gone wrong at points because of decisions I've made, as opposed to decisions somebody else has made.
Yeah, it's a little harder to take when it's somebody else screwing up your life than it is when you're screwing up your own life. So, and we realize that. We try to keep that in mind, and we've already made a few mistakes coming back and doing this thing. So. It's a constant learning curve, especially now. Everything is different in the music industry.
Yeah,
everything is different.
Every year, everything is different. I mean, stuff is just changing constantly.
Yeah, daily. It's ridiculous. And, like right now, we're in the position on this lineup because of probably, I don't know, Facebook numbers or something,
Yeah.
Oh, they have better Facebook numbers than you, so you're playing before them, And that kind of stuff we need to keep an eye on, But as soon as we start doing that, that will all change. Now they're looking at something else, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you only sold 2 records. Well, they only sold 1 record. So, you know, it's ridiculous. But it's a constant learning curve. It's trying to keep up with the times. You would not believe how many places we've played where right next door there's a huge venue and some YouTube star that nobody's ever going to hear of 2 months later is filling the place, you know, 10,000 people. 2 months later, nobody's going to know who they are. And yet we've been doing this for, 35 years, and we're playing the small club next door. So,
yeah.
But, everything is, it's learn as you go, and what you just learned today, you have to change for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
We're just having fun and hoping that we can keep doing this without going broke and without, living in a cardboard box when I get home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was many years before that you were away from the UK, for instance. Whereas, you've been back a few times now over the last few years, but there was quite a chunk of time where I assume business reasons it just wasn't worth coming over.
It just never worked out for one reason or another. But it was kind of strange because our first time in the UK, we played the Hammersmith Odeon.
Yeah.
We got off the plane, drove straight to the gig.
Oh, I was supporting Megadeth, wasn't it? Oh, God, yeah.
And we set up, opened up with a Hammerhead. I mean, we were tuning guitars as the curtain's going up, and right off the plane. And this last time we played Bloodstock, same thing. Right off the plane, we get on stage, tuning guitars as they're announcing us, and we opened up with Hammerhead. And people are just like, oh, this is deja vu all over again. 30 years later or something. So it was kind of weird, but we're not, we're definitely not going to let the UK be ignored anymore.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, but, the amount of times you've been over the last few years, I think it's definitely made a difference, obviously, because otherwise you wouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
But and of course the most recent album that you're currently touring. Pleased with the way that's come out, with the way the job AFM have done. A friend of mine, Andy Pilkington, did all of your art and all the rest of it. He's and he's a friend of the show. Are you pleased with the way everything has come out?
As far as Andy's concerned, we'll probably use him forever. He's a great guy.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
He does a great job on the album cover. He does all of our lyric videos for us.
His lyrics videos are amazing.
Lyric videos are awesome. And he turns things over very quickly. We say, hey, can you do this? And 2 days later, here's proof. Check this one out. And he just does a great job. Where he's one of those golden finds that you want to hang on to forever.
Yeah.
We have a sound man that way. We've had him for a few tours now, and we're never going to tour without him. He's just amazing.
Well, I love the retro shirt that they did for the cover. That is just that's awesome. That is really awesome.
Yeah. The like the Japanese movie poster thing.
Yeah. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I remember he sent me a picture. He's like, "What do you think?" I was like, "I think I want one." That's amazing.
And that guy, we send him we just send him an email about an idea, and he gets it right away. And he sends us something, and it's almost exactly what we're thinking of every time. So he's on the same wavelength as us.
Yeah. So what was the idea of bringing Flotzilla back onto the...
I have always wanted to bring Flotzilla back.
Right, okay.
Every album, I'm like, let's bring the lizard back, let's bring... No, we're going to do this instead. Really? So this time I kind of put my foot down. I said, no, we're bringing Flotzilla back, and I don't care what he's doing, but he's coming back on the album cover. So everybody got together and said, all right, let's have him, destroying New York or something. So one of the songs on the new record is his life story, basically. And once I wrote that, it was cinched in the deal. We had to have him on the cover. So.
Awesome. I'm pleased with that.
Yeah.
On a personal point of view, I remember reading an interview, and by the way, I have to say, I think a different interview, slight tangent, but I remember you saying it was. I got the gold remasters of Q Outro and When the Storm Comes Down. And I think I remember reading an interview at the time, and I've never agreed with somebody so much. You were interviewed and you said, if only we could remix When the Storm Comes Down. Not just remaster, but remix.
Yes.
And I'm given the amount. I'm guessing the amount of money that is owed to MCA. There's no likelihood of you managing to get it off them.
You know, MCA's been very good to us about that. We got a letter from them 10 years ago for Christmas, and they said, "Hey, you know that $2 million you owe us? Forget it. We're all good." And we're just, yes. You can't have your records, but
this is just like out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. You know, we've been off the label for who knows how many years, but they called us up and said, "Hey, forget about it. You're even. You know, that's one less worry in your career right now."
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So, I would love to remix that one. I actually would like to have Neil Kernan remix that one to give it more of that Quattro Drift feel.
Absolutely. It's just I mean, I think from a new school and the old school, and it's for me, I think it's probably one or two. It's such a strong album.
I'd actually like to re-sing that one too.
Really?
I ripped a hole in my vocal cord right before that record.
What?
They spent months in the studio replacing microphones and cables and having the desk fixed and everything. And finally, the producer, Alex Perialis, came in and stood next to me while I was singing. He goes, "It's your throat." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's my throat?" He says, "No, all this, what we're hearing in there, it's your throat. It's not cables and microphones." So I went to the doctor and he says, "Yeah, you ripped a hole in your vocal cord." Still to this day, sometimes when I'm warming up and I'll do a scream or something and two notes come out at the same time because I have that hole in my vocal cord.
Weird.
If I could learn how to control it and do my own harmonies, that would be great.
Oh, dude, you'd be touring on your own.
Yeah. It'd be a phenomenon.
So how the hell did you pull off that last note in Suffer the Masses then?
The weird thing is the super high clean stuff was all I could do on that record.
Wow.
I couldn't sound tough on it. I couldn't get low registers. I couldn't, because that hole in my vocal cord would just open up and it just sounded horrible.
Right.
So all I could do was high clean stuff. So the whole record is high clean vocals, just because that's all I could do at the time. So I'd really love to go in and re-sing that.
It's a great performance. One of my favourites of yours. I mean, that's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. So is that the point where you changed your singing style as well? Because you weren't singing from the diaphragm, were you? You were.
No, I was singing all from the top of my throat, and
right, so
part of
sing/shout.
Yeah, that and all the partying and. But you can kind of tell when Quattro came out, it was a completely different singing style. And I took some vocal coaching and some lessons just to refresh my mind on stuff that I already knew that I wasn't using. And actually, David Van Landing, who sang for Crimson Glory for a while, was my vocal coach.
Oh, right.
And he's dead now. He's been dead for 4 or 5 years, but he did a lot for me. I had a theater background, so I knew everything he was teaching me, but I didn't use any of it. So he kind of put all that stuff back in my head, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and this much water every day, and this much warm-ups, and warm-ups are not for today's show, they're for tomorrow's show, and all that stuff, so...
That's a really good saying.
Yeah, once I remembered all that and started using it, my vocal style just changed automatically. It just was kind of a natural thing. Yeah. And it's been progressing ever since.
Did it open up more for you? Did you find you were able to do things that you hadn't been able to do previously, or you were just able to still do the same stuff but without as much of an effect?
It definitely opened up my range, really the lower range than anything else, and a little tougher sounding vocal.
Yeah.
But it definitely opened up my vocal range, even just thinking about doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing. It opened my range up completely. Everything is so much easier to sing now for me. Anywhere on the spectrum, it's so much easier to sing just because I keep all those tricks and warm up ideas in mind all the time when I'm singing, and I'm getting better and better every day because of it.
And I presume as well, having that in your armory, it takes a little bit of that kind of worry away. That I think most singers that I've ever spoken to, there's always that nagging feeling in the back of your mind of, am I gonna be able to get to the end of this tour? How many days off I got? The only person in the band who looks straight at the days off,
right.
is the singer.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange thing now because the more shows we do in a row, the better my voice gets, and it's like I get more warmed up every day. We just did 40 shows in 43 days with Hammerfall in the U.S.
Wow.
And by the end of the tour, I was sounding the best I've ever sounded.
With only 3 days off?
Yeah, 3 days off in 43 days. So.
Fuck, man, I wouldn't. God. I think I'd pass out just being shown the dates.
It was pretty crazy. So now when I have a day off, that next show I know I'm going to be a little rough because I had a whole day of relaxation. And
do you know what? It's funny you should say that. We recorded our album in the summer, and it's still being mixed at the moment. God, I hate mixing. Fucking hate it. But I noticed I did 5 days straight. And me and the producer said, look, you've done really well. Have a day off. And came in the following day, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do this.
It took a whole session to get warmed up.
Yeah. It's just it made so much sense logically. Oh, day off, come in refreshed, everything will be great.
Yeah.
And took a day off, and it was like, it was the worst thing I could have done.
Yeah, it's weird because mentally a day off does wonders, but physically for the voice box, it's going, no, I was just all tight and ready, and now I'm relaxed, and I got to start all over again.
Yes,
it's a crazy thing, but and every singer's vocal, their regiment is completely different.
Yeah.
Everybody reacts different. Their throat muscles react different, and so I'm just. After 35 years, I'm just now kind of learning what mine does and what it likes and what it doesn't like, and so.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Like I say, recording the album in the summer was a really kind of like expansive experience for me, and I'm going to go and see a singing teacher for the first time in about 25 years, because I know that what I've recorded is, you're going to need to pull that off live, as well as all the other stuff that goes along with the live performance.
Right.
And I got to be the best, I got to be the best version of me possible.
And it's a little difficult because you're paying someone to tell you stuff that you already know. Yeah, I know this. I'm a singer. I know this stuff. But when somebody tells you it kind of drives it in your head, and you're like, okay, now maybe I'll actually use the things that I know instead of just knowing them.
Yeah, because it's like, I know that, and it's like, well, it's a bit like going to see the doctor.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like, I know I've got a problem there.
Yeah,
it's like,
you've got to drink more water. Yeah, okay, I knew that. I still don't do it, but I knew that.
But it's almost like it's almost getting that from a singing teacher or a doctor. It's like getting that description of, okay, you know that. Well, but just what you might not know is if you don't do it, A, B, and C are now in the room, and you're like, oh, right, okay. I mean, I knew I was supposed to do it, but I didn't realise it was so vital. And if I don't do it, then the dangers are there.
Right, just like warm-ups. I always think of it as someone slapping you in the face. If you know the slap is coming, you can tense up for it, and it won't hurt so bad. But if it just comes up and slaps you, it's going to hurt the next day, Same thing with singing. If you warm up and your throat knows, hey, I'm about to, do some damage to you, the next day it's not so bad. But if you just do it without telling your throat, hey, I'm not going to warm up, I'm just going to go out and slap you in the throat,
Yeah.
The next day it's going, no. You beat me up yesterday. I'm not doing it today.
Do you know, I saw an interview with Ronnie Dio, and he said the only vocal warm-up he did was smoke a joint.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if I quit drinking and smoking, I sound like a little girl on stage. My throat gets so high and so clean, and I just hate it. So once in a while, I have to have a cigarette, I have to have a Jack Daniels, and it gives me that little rough, and mentally, it, makes me feel a little more metal, I think.
A little bit more rock and roll, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's got that little bit of Ramones in the back of their head where I gotta party a little bit,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, otherwise it's just a job.
Yeah, it's just a job, and most of it's not fun.
Yeah, most of it's traveling.
Yeah,
basically.
Traveling, sitting backstage, waiting for your turn. Sound checks, all that.
Yeah, it is a lot. There is a lot of hanging around, and it's funny. I think looking at the life of a musician now, I think for the majority of musicians, it's now a minimum wage job, a minimum wage way of seeing the world on your own sort of terms.
Absolutely.
And I think in the past, you'd look at basically the top 25% were pretty much, having a comfortable living, and now it's kind of like the top 2.5%. And everybody else is just all fighting at the same picnic.
Sometimes I think it's just Metallica, and everybody else is having a rough time. So
yeah. Obviously, it's like someone said, there isn't a big four, there's a big one and three others.
Exactly. And nobody's selling records, so it's all got to be merch and ticket sales and.
Well, but that's also why you're seeing. That's why you're seeing just about every other band bringing out a whiskey, a wine, a coffee. If you can brand it, and if it can't be downloaded for free, and you can put your band logo on it, then
You would not believe some of the stuff we've sold at our merch booth.
I'm sure I would.
My in-ears run out, and I change the batteries. I sign the old dead ones and put them out at the merch booth. Somebody's going to buy them, almost every time. We've sold. Actually, Derek from Overkill sold a cold piece of pizza. He signed the back of it, put it out on the merch booth. Somebody bought it for €10. A piece of pizza.
Well, you better
are you kidding me?
Well, you either have to freeze that, yeah, right, or take a picture of it or something, because it's not going to look like that in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, it's going to be a plant. Before you know it.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
But whatever it takes to make the tour keep going. So.
Well, I had like 5 copies of a box set of our back catalogue, and we only had there was 5 copies. They're really expensive to buy on eBay. They're not in print anymore, and all the rest of it. So we had a 5-day tour. I had 5 copies. Every night at the merch stall, you could buy raffle tickets and spend as much as you want, and so everybody bought raffle tickets, and then during the set, between one of the songs, we go, okay, right, it's time for the raffle.
Draw a ticket.
Draw the ticket out, get the guy up, or girl, give him the CD box set. Everyone gives him a big cheer.
Nice.
Dive off the stage. Right, next song is. Do you know what? We made so much money out of that raffle. For 5 box sets that had been kicking around in my house for ages that I'd forgotten I even had. And somebody said, should we take these on the road?
And back in the day, that would have been extra money, but now it's covering something that you don't make anymore.
Oh, yeah, back in the day, you'd be like, okay, right, drinks are on us tonight, or let's go out and have a big meal. Right. But like you say, now it's
like,
literally...
we can put gas in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's 2 tanks of petrol. Result! It's gone from touring and everybody going showing off about the size of their rig and the size of their crew, and now it's the other way, isn't it? It's like, it's just the band, and we've got the smallest van. We're in a smart car. Right. It's like people are showing off about how much they've managed to cut their overheads.
Right. Our sound man is also doing merch and tour managing, and
Yeah. Oh, no one has one job anymore either.
Oh no.
It's like including all the band members, as you mentioned earlier. Everybody has got to be on it all the time.
Yeah, and it's a little difficult to watch some of the rap artists and stuff who don't do nothing, and they're selling millions and millions of records. Why? It's horrible stuff. I don't get it.
I know, it's
the YouTube stars that last 2 months and they go out and do one tour and make millions of dollars and they're done. That's it.
Yeah.
Career over.
Yeah. But again, I guess you've got to weigh that whole, money buys shoes, it doesn't buy happiness.
This is true.
I mean, that's what everybody else with no money tells us.
And I try to remind myself that when I'm carrying my 2 heavy pieces of luggage and one of the guitar players' guitars through airports, going, okay, I'm happy.
Yeah, this is better than an office job. Constantly telling yourself that.
Yes.
So what, speaking of which, what do you do when you're at home? Is how you filling in the bills?
Some hobbies that are expensive that I don't do very much of, but I'm part owner of a construction company.
Right.
We do like kitchen and bathroom remodels and stuff like that. So when I'm at home, I'm very busy every day, 7 days a week. And when I come out on the road, I take a pay cut, and I'm out here doing this. So it's a little difficult to keep the bills paid when I'm on the road, but we make just enough to squeak by,
But but it's obviously a part of you that you need to keep nourished.
I have to, and I have some hardcore fans that I talk to every day on Facebook or Messenger or whatever. And they would not let me stop doing this. Not in a million. They just, we know your address. We're coming to get you. so I don't have a lot of choice when it comes to whether I'm touring or not. They make me tour, but I would do it anyway. I mean, I love this life, and I love, doing the touring thing and seeing the world. And I just hope to get to a point where I don't have to work when I get home. I can just book another tour and go right back out on the road again. That would be great.
Yeah.
And I don't have any grandiose expectations of buying Ferraris and stuff like that. Just paying the bills is all I need, just like a normal anybody
absolutely.
else's job. So that's my goal at this point. We're getting close, but not quite there. And I'd like to be able to bring my wife out once in a while, on tour with me.
Yeah.
Which I've never done in 30 years.
Wow.
She's a little angry about that.
So any of the other guys managed to bring their wives out with them?
No. We had...
Because you realise you're done for the minute one of them does, don't you?
We had 2 days off at the very beginning of this tour in Italy. So Spencer brought his girlfriend out, but he owns a big air conditioning company in LA, in Sacramento, so
right,
he can afford that. I can't.
Yeah.
But as soon as I can, I'll bring the wife out. Maybe I'll put her to work doing merch or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it worth it.
Absolutely. One thing's for sure. I'm pretty sure that she'll do that. She comes on tour with you once and goes, no, I've done that. Yeah, off you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Luckily for me, over the last 30 years, she enjoys getting rid of me for a few months at a time.
Which is great.
She's like, get out of my house, go. But now she's starting to complain. I haven't seen any of the world. You've been around the world, 17 times already.
Right, yeah.
It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough one to deal with. She's got a point.
Yeah, next month we have our 25th wedding anniversary coming up, so I have to come up with something.
Yeah, I can just see you saying, right, okay, 25th anniversary. How would you like to do merch for us?
Yeah, how would you like to do my laundry, because I'm going back out on tour.
yeah, even merch has got to be an improvement over that.
Yeah, definitely. She's a trooper, though. She keeps sticking with me. I don't know why, but she does.
Well, after all these years, that's something. That really is.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It's strange because the very first night I met her and that I took her out, I went to her house to pick her up, and she's got Eric A.K. and Flotsam posters all over her room and all over. I'm
my God.
What am I getting myself into? 30 years later, I'm still with her, so.
That's awesome. But I mean, that is an enduring relationship overall over that period of time, and presumably as well. She's seen the highs and the lows. She's seen the MCA years where they're sinking money into you, and you're thinking any time now.
Yeah.
And then she's seen
now you can relax and just go shopping. Nope.
Yeah. And then she's seen those years where it's you want to go on tour? Yeah. Well, off you go. But it has been an incredible career, because you could have completely imploded after album 1, losing Jason when you did, and everything else.
Yeah, I've had a lot of lineup changes over the years. So.
Ever so slightly, yeah. Well, aren't you just about the only constant?
I'm the only one that's been there. Actually, I quit for 6 months.
Is that when they went on tour with a different singer?
Yeah, with James Rivera from Hellstar. Went out with them. And it didn't go over very well. They called me as soon as that half of that tour was over and said, "Are you coming back now?" Okay. I miss it. I'll come back.
But that's it. Which, funnily enough, I'm not sure how many of the lineup that you currently have were on the album, but one album of yours I think that gets really overlooked, which is fairly recent, was The Cold. That I thought was a real return to form. Dreams of Death, there was like, we're coming back, there's sparks of life here. But The Cold, I thought, was a proper Flotsam album.
Yeah, The Cold, Mark Simpson and I basically wrote that whole thing. And that was Mark Simpson's brainchild, and he did an amazing job on that record.
You both do.
And he would send me songs and just say, "Hey, I love this tune, don't screw it up. Put something cool on here." And I'd send him something, he'd go, "That's almost there." So I'd work on it some more, and there it is, that's the one. So that was me and Mark.
I know. Last time I spoke to Michael about it, I mentioned it, and he was like, "Yeah, I had nothing to do with that." He said, "It's an awesome record."
Yeah, I'm the only one left in the band that's on that record. So.
Right. Which again, maybe it is, but that doesn't seem that long ago to me. The Cold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only
doesn't seem that long.
3-4 albums at the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was incredible, and like I said, when I was talking to Michael about it, he was saying like, "Yeah, I had to bring Mark up and say, dude, how'd you play these fucking songs?"
Yeah. We're starting to learn some of those songs for our U.S. tour coming up, because I'm finally putting my foot down and go, "No, we're doing some songs from The Cold."
Awesome.
So
because you've literally you're like in a camp of one, aren't you?
We've never played any of those songs live ever.
Really?
Yeah. None of that album has ever been played live by us.
Wow.
Yeah. So I finally put my foot down and said, I'll let you guys pick the songs, at least 2 off that record, and we're going to do them on the tour. So they start calling Mark Simpson up, saying, "How did you play this? What's the chords for this? Then they start telling me, "Oh, we need 3 guitar players for this, for Better Off Dead." I'm like, "No, we don't. We can figure it out." So we're battling back and forth, but they finally gave in, and we're going to throw a couple Cold songs on the
brilliant
in the next couple tours.
Oh, that would be very. I mean, the song "The Cold" on its own. I mean, that's just a beast of a title track.
That's one of my favorite solos on any record of all time. Is off of The Cold. I just love the guitar solo on that.
There's some fantastic lead work all over that record. There really is, and I mean, I like. Yeah, it's just an incredibly solid, polished. It's a proper Flotsam and Jetsam album. You might be the only member who's still in the band who was on it, but that for me is sits alongside Drift and albums of that era.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Well, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I think vocally as well, it's up there with some of the best stuff you've done.
It is. It is. I kind of let myself go on that record. I'm not going to think about what's heavy and what's tough and what's clean and what's high and I'm just going to sing what comes out, and it came out really great. I'm really happy with that.
No, it did. It came out really, really well. Was that on AFM?
No, that was on a label called Driven Music Group, which is owned by Head from Korn.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So it was the only record we did with them, so... It was kind of a strange thing, and the contract was very weird. We'll never see any money off of that record, ever. So...
Yeah, that is generally a weird contract.
Yeah. But at the time, we had no other offers. So it was take this one or don't do anything. So...
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And despite what everyone's selling you, it's like, well, you know... The other option's worse, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, the other option, not signing the contract, that's worse.
Yeah, because then you're begging people for money so you can do it yourself. You know, it's ridiculous.
And that's something I think we get a lot of fans saying, hey, you know, what have you thought about crowdfunding? What about this? And it's like, look, guys, what you don't understand is, and there's no reason why they should. So it's, you know, I consider it my role to explain that what crowdfunding does is it provides you finance,
right?
But that is all. Right. You know. After that, you've got to set up a company. You've got to have everything manufactured. You've got to have everything warehoused. You've got to everything.
Yes, there's no marketing involved. It's just the recording costs.
That's it, and it's and marketing, PR, everything. It's now. I mean, really, whatever you spend on the album, you should be spending like twice on telling everybody you've got an album out.
Easily. And if you don't have someone who's either a media genius or a record label, nobody's going to know the record's out.
Yeah.
You know, we did Ugly Noise on crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And just off of our name alone, we got it out there a little bit. But it would have been so much better with a label behind it.
Yeah.
Getting it in stores and all that stuff. So
no, but it is though. It is a case of it's now more important than ever with the dissolution of communication and just trying to get any voice out there being so difficult. You are now in a position where I'm dealing with labels these last few weeks, having regards our new album. And a lot of the time it's like, right, okay, we don't even, not even a mention of a contract or anything like that. It's like, this is what we'll do, and it's just a list of PR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like we'll do this here, we'll do that here, we'll do this on social media, etc., etc. Because they know that's pretty much all you're interested in. It's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
How are you going to get the message out there? Because in theory, I can set up a record label, get a distribution deal, distribute everything digitally myself. Anyone can literally get the product out there.
Right.
But if no one knows it's out there...
Right, and it only takes one person who releases your album on social media and they get 1 million hits. Next thing you know, Facebook's sending them checks, and they have nothing to do with your band or label or anything.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of you put your stuff out there for free before somebody else does, so you get the 1 million hits instead of them. It's the whole industry has changed so much.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a matter of learning how to what you have to do first and how much you have to do it, and
Well, it's just adapting, evolve, and survive.
It's just different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly not better, but it's different.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's but again, even with the old, the way everything used to be as well, it's kind of, none of it's perfect. None of it is an ideal system.
Yeah, when we were doing Quattro, I remember flying Ed Carlson and myself out to New York. They pick us up in a limousine at the airport, and we go to MTV and do an interview, and we go someplace else and do an interview, and they fly us back home. And we stayed at the nicest hotel, in New York while we were there, and that was real rock stardom, back then. Now, I don't even know what a limousine looks like anymore. And if you go do press interviews, you do like 50 in an hour, and it's ridiculous. You gotta book everything all at once because you may not be able to make it to that spot ever again.
Well, also there's the other thing as well, which is with so many. I mean, once upon a time back in the day, you'd be doing an interview with a journalist who would have, researched you, know your stuff, might have reviewed the album, and spent years learning how to be a journalist.
Right.
And now, you could end up down a back street outside the venue talking to somebody. You just
right. Some kid who just bought his first laptop a few months ago, and he's already a journalist.
Yeah, and is interviewing 20 bands, or has managed to, score a pass and is interviewing every band that day. And so who are you? What do you do? What have you got out? It's like, yes, yeah. But also the one that gets me is the closed questions, expecting you to just carry on talking. So it's like, the new album's really good. I really like it, and you're like, there's no question.
Yeah. Great.
yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, if you do that, you just end up looking like a dick. I've done it.
Right.
And everyone thinks, well, that guy's a dick.
Yeah.
Why is he being like that with him? And it's like,
this guy was not talkative at all. He was horrible interview.
Yeah, you didn't ask any questions. You just said a bunch of stuff. Yeah. No, it does happen. Well, look, Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you around the back of the venue here. I'm really looking forward to the show tonight. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to seeing Michael as well and reminding him he was supposed to do an interview.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How cool was that? I mean, just totally spontaneous, so enjoyable. And then we carried on chatting for about another 10 minutes. And at one point I was thinking, oh, fucking hell, I wish I hadn't switched this off. But he did tell me some off-the-record stuff, which was really cool for a complete Flotsam fan. It was really cool to hear. And I'm not going to repeat it, but feel free, as always, stop me if you see me, ask me anything you want, and I will tell you in person. So, what else been going on? One of my albums of the year is Dream Theater, Distance Over Time. I am loving it. John Petrucci is back to being the absolute riff master that he is. Some serious heaviness coming out of on this album, and I will be spinning tracks on Bollocks Radio or Radio Bollocks. I can never remember what I call it, but please do check out the radio show. It's on YouTube. I've put links up everywhere. Please do listen, because I will stop doing it if I don't get the viewing figures up. So please spread the word. It's up there now. Bollocks Radio on the Talking Bollocks YouTube channel. Please give it a listen. Lots of interesting stuff on there. And, I need to get some listeners to it, because there's fuck all happening there at the moment. It's really not being listened to that much. So I'm not going to keep doing it much longer if it's just for me. So please do check it out. And you will be hearing some Dream Theater on there. Yeah, Distance Over Time, man. It's absolutely kicking my ass at the moment. Or is it arse? A previous debate that has been had on Talking Bollocks. As Brits, do we kick ass or do we kick ass? I mean, kick ass just sounds lame if you're fucking asking me. So I'm still sticking with, as I think my previous conclusion was, kick ass, motherfucker. Again, motherfucker, a lovely word, but it doesn't have the same oomph with an English accent that it has with, you know what I mean. Come on, fuck you, motherfucker. That's motherfucker, isn't it? Me saying, oh, it's been a real motherfucker. I don't know. Is it genuine? How does it sound? Does it sound? Is that right, or is it wrong? Am I talking shit or am I talking bollocks? See what I did there. Also, I listened to a band this month, Any Given Day, and all I can say about that is could be any given band. Could be fucking anyone. I have to say as well, I mentioned I was at a show very recently. I was at the Flotsam Jetsam Destruction and Overkill show, hence I got you these interviews. And really, 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 really have to make out a point. Now, I can't believe I'm actually having to say this, right? If you are at a gig and you have a rucksack and you do not carry it by your side and you do not stand with it between your feet, you have it on your back, yeah, then you're a fucking idiot. And if you've ever wondered why you keep being pushed around, it's because the rucksack is on your fucking back, you daft cunt. Seriously, what the fuck? What the hell are you doing? Wearing a fucking rucksack at a gig. Literally, saw it last night. 2 or 3 people literally turning round and smacking other people because they've got... What are you, a fucking snail? You need to have your entire fucking... you need to have your entire worldly possessions on you at all times, do you? You fucking cunt. Sort your fucking life out. How the fuck do you think it's acceptable to be wearing a fucking rucksack at a fucking gig, constantly knocking people over? Honestly, it was just like, what is this? Are you here for the gig, or are you homeless and just staying in the warm for a bit? Somebody bought you a ticket. Seriously, absolute, total, inappropriate gig behaviour. A fucking rucksack indeed, you twat. Seriously, dickish behaviour. Sort it out, people. Sort it out. And if you see somebody with a rucksack on, always make sure you bump into it. Always make sure that you walk, just go up to it, stand next to them, and then start walking. And it just very slowly turns them round like the cunts they are and deserve to be. So, slight intermission there. Let's get on with the next interview I did at the gig. And that was with friend of the show, welcome back, the one, the only, Mr. Bobby Blitz Ellsworth!
That kind of picks up from... I had a chat with Eric from Flotsam outside for a good while, and he was saying exactly the same. He said, he said, I'm pretty convinced basically there's only Metallica are doing well, and everybody else is just fucking struggling. You know, it's a battle. It's a battle.
Is this the?
We're on, mate. We're in.
Oh
yeah.
my god!
Yeah,
I feel first and foremost, I feel honored. This is my return engagement. I think we're actually in the same position we did it in the first one. Same couch, maybe.
It might be the same couch, and I've got a funny feeling. I think that's about 4 years ago now.
But we also have a telephone one, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Skype was a shit show.
Yeah, it did turn into a shit show. Yeah.
I do think it's a struggle, but I think there's tiers, and I think there's more than just Metallica that are doing well. I mean, I think that's obvious. And there's that big 4, and then I think underneath it there's a couple of bands that do okay and make a living out of it. But I think that when you start getting into the third tier, I think it's pretty impossible to do. Yeah. You know, I mean, I think in the case of this tour, by having Flotsam Destruction on the tour with us, I think it makes it really a 3-pronged kind of an attack.
Big time.
Gets, anybody who would just be laying around on the couch to think twice about it and say, hey, man.
That's 3 headliners.
Then maybe I could miss something I would never see again. Yeah. Because you're starting to see this shit go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, struggle or not, it's still a blast. I mean, it's not, the struggle is worth it. I mean, I think you probably know the same thing, because the struggle on any level is something that feeds your soul.
Absolutely. Well, the greatest art comes from struggle, and I know it's a bit of a throwaway quote, but it's true. It's like it's those successful people who are making the shit. It's just struggling down here that are making the quality.
But the people are eating the shit. And not all of them, of course, but I think you're right. I think people who do it for the correct reasons are the ones that at least feel successful to themselves.
Well, speaking of struggle, you've had a struggle just getting in the country, haven't you, today?
Not us. No.
No? Oh, right, okay.
Might have been the other guys. But
I think it was Flots, it took them 4 hours to get through.
They were behind us. I think they have a different newer bus driver, and, our guy's experience, he got us on the 7:45, and we were eating traditional English breakfast by 8.
Nice.
Looking out the windows, and eventually I was taking pictures of Dover into port. So no problems.
So so you're pretty much over that whole. You've just been out for bangers and mash. You've had your full English breakfast. So
it was actually steak and ale pie. So it wasn't bangers and mash. I was just.
Right.
I did have mash with it, but it's something traditional.
Yeah, very much so. And it's not. You're one of the few Americans that I can interview who's like, you've come over here. You found the food you like.
I like English food in general.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know your whole menu, obviously, but whatever I've had, I mean, this is some of the best Indian food I've ever had. And that I would consider as English food.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's the number one favourite dish in the UK is chicken tikka masala. Fish and chips is number 2.
Okay, I've done the fish and chips.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I guess everywhere is kind of the same. Everywhere is fairly eclectic. You find your
big cities for sure.
Yeah, you find your traditional stuff.
Sure, I mean, I'm sure that it's very possible that the best Italian restaurant is not in Italy, but could be in New York, London, or Paris. Or
yeah. It could be anywhere. Yeah, but it's the whole thing is kind of food, culture, everything is a lot more eclectic than say 25 years ago.
It's mixed, right?
Yeah. Well, but again, I guess it's the internet, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, everybody is sharing shit all the time. Yeah. So we are effectively sharing our cultures with each other. Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I played Germany, and you kind of, everybody looked German. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? that distinctive.
You thinking jackboots and Iron Cross? No. What are you getting at? I'm thinking beer and bratwurst.
I'm thinking that distinctive lack of fashion that they used to wear so well.
They had a certain traditionalism that is thread itself through generations.
Yeah. But so tour's going well. You're packing out houses. I mean, I hear it's been pretty much rocking.
This was a chance for us. I mean, it was from our risk on it. It depended on the strength of the record, and then going out and not necessarily cutting the right deals, but taking a risk. Guaranteeing the money for the other bands that came out on the road, Destruction and Flotsam. But putting ourselves in situations saying, we think we can do better than what you're offering us. We'll take the door.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That type of a deal. And I think it's worked out for us. I mean, it's just a business decision, but it's a risk. But in the places we did that, it worked out for us. I mean,
that's good.
It's a calculated risk, though. I mean, that if the record's good, and especially the Germans came out in droves, the Italians came out in droves. The Hungarians, the Poles. I mean, I was off the hook. I don't think we were doing less than or close to 1,000 a night, and
that's awesome.
For the second or third tier thrash bands, that's pretty. It's something to be proud of. I mean, and not just Overkill, but I mean, obviously all three.
Yeah, but I mean, right through Europe, 1,000 a night on average. That is that's awesome.
No, Paris was last night. That was over 7. And that was one of the more compact shows. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, but it's sold out.
But that's great. Yeah. Again, you can't you can't ask more from that, selling out, and you must be to have that option of saying, actually, do you know what, we'll take the door. Is that a we're just going to go without a fee altogether?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we've done this for so many years that we understand it, and there's a pattern. And the pattern, though, is based on the record being good and accepted well. And when the record went through Germany, which is really kind of the epicenter of the press for this, and maybe the UK being second on this side of the pond. If that catches fire, that's insane for us. I think we did the right amount of promotion for it. We did it not based on the community, but based on where we came from. We did trailers and video clips of 7 to 15 minutes from New Jersey and sent it out and said, this is what we are and this is how we were when we were kids and blah, blah, blah. And I think it became personal. And the record backed up what we were talking about. And when the Germans got their hands on it, it went to number 5, which is our highest charting position. So we knew that our calculated risk was something that we could bet on.
All right, yeah, hang on a sec. Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Well, it's funny, and we're just
we're back now. Yeah, we're back.
We'll get off the track a little, and it was about oxygen. I've been using oxygen since for 9 years, since I was 50, and it helps. It just like regenerates you instantly. But the rumors are, it's either failing health. A huge cocaine habit, because I have to go off the side of the stage to do this.
Yes.
And then put the mask on, get a quick blaster and a guitar lead, and then come out, and it's just totally rejuvenates. You go from 59 to 58. No, 59. But you go from 59 to 25. And because you just feel the pump. So it's something I've.
Well, you're selling that to me.
I've put it in my repertoire. I'll tell you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem out there with that big. And I'll tell you, the Poles will give me one of those oxygen tanks that you see. I mean,
in the hospital.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I could never go through that. I've never gone through a canister. But it's something that I really like having because it's kicking the ass.
The first time I noticed it was when you were playing with when you came through here with Max and Igor. Mm-hmm. You were doing the support slot
over in Kentish Town.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the first time I noticed you doing the oxygen.
Yeah.
But I have to say I was with a friend of mine. We used to hang out together when Roots first came out, and she got me tickets to the club tour and all that. And it was she was really excited about it. And we came away from the night, and I said, "So, what do you think?" And she said, "Just Overkill blew me away." And I was like, "But you haven't." I was like, "That's very good of you. That's very good of you." See the way he brushes that aside, folks. But she was like, just blew me away. Don't know him, never heard of him, haven't heard anything by them. And I was like, I got to tell Bobby this next time I speak to him, because compared with. She was going to be hearing these songs the first time in a long time, the Roots album, a big, which was a big thing for her.
Yeah.
For them to come away and say that like Overkill took the night for her was just like, wow.
It's a great compliment. I mean, we've always played with a chip on our shoulder. I mean, even from the early days when, it was Rat Skates and Bobby Gustafson, we played with a chip on our shoulder. We played to win. Yeah. And I think it's something that has been a great asset to ours. Because that was, to some degree, for sure, not my favorite record that they ever did. I mean, it may be the one I disliked the most, just because of its eclectic, almost kind of native national vibe to it. Those type of beats and stuff. It just took me way away from Beneath Remains and Arise, and the point is that it was a great setup for what we had to offer compared to it. Showed contrast, which I think for an audience is a great thing. Doesn't mean we're better. It just means there will be no comparative between the two. It'll be how the people enjoy it based on difference as opposed to sameness.
Yeah, and that was that must be kind of like a nice change. Doing the odd kind of support thing as well, because I would imagine pretty much most of the time you're out there headlining, leading the charge.
Yeah, I really don't like support gigs.
Really?
No, not really. I mean, so for me,
wow.
I like to control my own world. I don't like it controlled by somebody else. And it's maybe it's just the old man in me. It's just like, hey man, it's 8:00 in the morning. I'm on my second cup. Don't bother me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's 8:01. Where's that cup? So it's. I think that's. I'd rather present Overkill as Overkill should be presented. And it's because I think we do a good job. And I think when you take that demeanor or that principle, you always have to challenge yourself. And that kind of keeps us on our toes this many years later. It's not just run-of-the-mill, even though it may be the routine of presenting ourselves. It's not run-of-the-mill with regard to the presentation.
Yeah. No, I absolutely get that. It's just usually people are just like, support, shorter set. Get to hang out more.
Yeah, not for me. I'd rather do it this way. It's just it's easier. You get the right crew. You get the right. Everybody falls into the groove with the set, and it just rolls out of you.
And it's an overkill show. And
it's overkill vibe that's in the room. And that to me is a really important thing. And listen, hey, it's competition. I know that. Eric AK is one of the best singers in this business. There's no two fucking ways about it. You know? So that's a heavy competition. Now, you might not be able to compare the two voices, or the three, even with Schmear. Mm-hmm. But, that's a tall order for me to go out and try to take on and beat. Now maybe the band can beat the other band, but can I beat this guy? And okay, the band's gonna. But that's healthy competition.
The audience around there don't give a shit, right?
No, they don't give a shit, but I do. And hey, come on, it's all about me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, lead singers union here, not a problem. But that's really interesting that competitive edge is kind of like, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you kicking ass after all these years. Is that kind of that mentality of like, no, it's mine. I don't want anyone taking it away from me.
Yeah, you can have it, but you have to take it. That's the thing. It's not going to be given.
You have to pry out my cold dead hand.
Hey, let me tell you something. I'm always asked about the younger Thrash generation and their bands, and I always say, hey, somebody will eventually arise out of that and throw away the templates of the 80s which they've dropped themselves in. I've never heard, for instance, an Overkill copy, but shit, I've read Slayer copies and Exodus copies and Metallica copies.
Yeah.
And they're in that template. If they want to rise above that, whatever you learned from the template, take with you, but it has to
your own
be
sound.
Has to be original. It's somewhere in there. And in our day, when Acid Rain was out and Overkill had been out for a few years, one of the things that we all had was individuality with regard to lead vocals. Love us or hate us.
Yeah.
You knew who Araya was. You knew who Hatfield was. You knew who Zetro was. And I think that was something about that originality where somewhere not to give ourselves kudos, but to say, hey, maybe that's something they should be thinking about in the current day.
I absolutely agree, and I'm going to take some of that reply the next time I'm asked about the new school thrash bands, because being old school myself, I'm asked about it as well, and my one thing I always have to offer is I'm hearing stuff I've heard before played really well, undoubtedly, and arranged differently, but there's nothing that's making me go, ooh, wow, like I did when I heard those bands, those original bands. Well, and that's what I want to hear.
I agree with you, and I think one of the bands was out of the UK that I thought, I think they're coming back and doing a new record because they broke up for a while. And they're not a new band, but I swear to God, I said, if there is a next one, it's Evil.
Right, yeah.
And I thought to myself, because it's not just, sure, there's parts that remind you of Metallica. Sure, there's grooves. Sure, they go into the heavy double bass stuff.
Yeah.
But there was something in there that I said, if they just develop a couple more records, they were gonna, they might have had the right to take the crown.
They are working on an album at the moment.
I heard, recently heard.
I had Ol on the podcast, and he was really, he's really up for it. But funnily enough, he did the interview and he mentioned that he was hoping to have an album out. He was hoping that they'd get an album out in 2020, and then he's followed up by saying that looks unlikely now. So yeah, people are just going to have to hang in there and wait. But there is a. I couldn't agree more about just bring your game.
Yeah.
Bring what you do to all of that stuff that you like and everything else, and create a new sound.
I think somewhere, as I remember, and only in hindsight, I could never have said I saw this coming. I remember where we kind of started becoming overkill. I mean, and there's chapters of overkill. One ends with the Years of Decay, for instance. And I think that's when we started becoming overkill. And I think, we didn't take the flag, but we owned part of it then. And I think that if a band that's a younger band wants the flag or wants a piece of it, they got to take it. It's that competition thing. Nobody's just going to hand it to you because we're retiring. Oh, we're retiring. Here's the flag. Oh, great. Now I get to be number one. Go fuck yourself. You got to come over here. You got to grab it. And that that proves your mettle, I think. And that proves the reason why you do it.
Well, also because people have got to you've got to go out. People have got to get you. You've got to go out there and grab people, because just because Slayer retires doesn't mean that Overkill's sales go up.
It's just doesn't at all. No.
Yeah, it's just all about pretty much just delivering your vision, delivering your sound, and having faith in it.
Yeah.
To go back to what we were talking about earlier, and having faith in it.
Yeah. And having a good understanding of the scene. I think probably there's a missing aspect of the 80s, 90s, and the current day, and that's the social element. The social element in the 80s was handshaking. It was something hugely important that, whether it be talking to three girls because you thought they were cute, and at a gig, and or somebody else's show, or the Overkill guys going to see the Acid Rain guys play, their gig, and mixing in there, and going to the bar and handing out flyers. Well, I know it's a different world, and I'm not saying my way was better. I'm just saying that was an element that gave us the element of reality, of being real people that that you touched, not that you read about or connected with, via digital information. And it's one of the missing elements in many things, not just music, but for sure it helped us. I mean, obviously we've reinvented ourselves to share digital information, otherwise we're left behind. We become the dinosaur. But so we've accepted that. But that is something that is just missing in the formula in the current day.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I think it also means that bands can end up in kind of silos as well. Instead of that whole. I remember touring, meeting bands. We just always, if you weren't playing a show, you were at somebody else's show, but you were still. You were still gig
involved.
Involved
in the mix.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and
necessary.
But you had to, absolutely, you had to. But like you said, we're not saying one's better than the other. Times change, things move on. We accept that.
Well, when I went to school, I walked uphill to school and back. It was both uphill. And in the snow. So it was harder for me.
I thought you were going to go into the Four Yorkshiremen sketch, the old Monty Python thing. We used to live in a box. We dreamed of living in a box. So how you feeling? Health-wise, you said you're healthy. You feeling good?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you get road sick, but it's not. As long as you're hydrated and take care of yourself. I mean, it's harder to do as you're older. I mean, this is for sure. This should be a young man's game. I mean, I'm not so stupid to say, no, everything is perfect. I mean, of course, it's not fucking perfect. I'm fucking 59, for fuck's sake. I'm gonna be 60 pretty soon. I mean, the
every day above ground, Bobby.
Every day, but I think I celebrate it with the fact that it's still there for the 90 minutes. That's really the important part of it. For me.
Yeah.
And I mean, some decent food, some decent rest, some hydration can make that 90 minutes happen, and some oxygen.
Yeah. I'm just getting onto that. Yeah. That's amazing. So, where did you discover the oxygen first? Who sort of?
Well, I got sick on the road, and it was just something awful, and I was on this like oxygen therapy for 4 or 5 days, and it just was like. Everything felt great, and so we started adding it to the rider. wherever we could get it without prescription,
Right, yeah.
or without some kind of a legality that required us to fill out forms and get a doctor's examination. But I think probably the first time was because after I felt better. It was only a few weeks. It wasn't something, it wasn't a health scare, but it was. But we were going to South America, and I was checking elevations, and we were going to Colombia, and I was like, all right, 8,000 fucking feet, huh? It's like planes fly pretty much around this level.
Yeah.
So I said, that's going to help just from the thinness of it. So we added it at that show, and the show went over like gangbusters, so it was, and I had all the energy in the world, so it was, we said, it's a winner. On one try, it's a winner, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Since Slayer came out, since Slayer came out and said they were retiring, have you found, has that been a recurring question that you've then that's knocked onto you guys? You getting asked that at all?
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose it was the news, and whatever they do, they do. Good for them. They made their mark. Had a huge, I'd say more than made their mark.
Yeah,
they've.
And looks like they're going to be around making their mark for a little while. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. They're not really a thrash metal band. They're a subgenre of a thrash metal band that is unto themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And those who use their temple. And I think that's a great accolade to give them is to show the greatness of that band. And I'm not ass kissing. I'm just saying, sorry, there is only one Slayer. It's just the way it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to Malcolm Dome last year. We were talking about, and he said, I think from an actual from the metal world, he said, I think Slayer are responsible for more than Metallica. He said Metallica were a thrash band who became huge and are now the biggest metal band in the world. Slayer started how many genres?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point.
You go all the way back. It's like, there they are at the bottom there.
Metallica was a thrash band that almost became, redefined heavy pop, heavy rock and roll. They were appealing to hordes of people that had no interest in Slayer or Exodus or Overkill or Testament. Had no interest. It was just only about Metallica. That was all it was. It's kind of like the casual the rock fan who is an AC/DC freak but could care less about any other hard rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's I think a real important contribution just by.
Without a doubt, without a doubt, and it is what it is. I've seen him. First time I saw him, I was 16. I just went for the last time, end of last year, and it was a fucking awesome show.
Yeah,
absolutely awesome show.
Awe-inspiring, I think. That's always the. I saw them in New York with my wife, with Lamb of God and Behemoth.
Yeah, I saw Lamb of God, Anthrax, and Obituary.
Okay.
And it's nice to see them taking out some old school, and you know. Lamb of God is kind of new school, but really making it a big ticket event.
Yeah.
And what was it like when you saw him?
I guess Felt Forum is they call it the theater at Madison Square Garden. It used to be the Felt Forum. They used to do fights in there and stuff. 5,000.
Right.
Sold out.
Wow.
So it wasn't a 2-night thing, but it was, and this is probably a year and a half ago when they first started this run.
Yeah. Yeah, so I saw them end of last year, so probably about a year on from when you saw them, but still amazing, still a great show, and you guys just never quit, do you? Every 2 years, regular as clockwork. Yeah. Every 2 years, here it is. Yeah. Here's the new Overkill album.
It works for us. It keeps us visible. And to some degree, if we were just talking about the tour and the successes in the East, the successes in Germany, Netherlands was 1,100 or 1,200 people. These successes could be attributed to that routine. There's a certain dependability with that principle. Not everybody loves every record, but we've been on a hell of a run since 2010. Where people have took notice, but I think they're taking notice because the scene's healthy too. You know, I mean, it's a healthy scene.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, if anybody's prepared for a healthy scene, it's a band that didn't take the '90s off. You know, we didn't take the late '90s and early 2000s off. You know, we worked through that thing. So when it did get healthy, we were kind of ready for it. You know, so it's I think that every 2-year repetition for us kind of works, gives us visibility, keeps us touring. You know, we've come back over here, since then. I mean, we were at the Camden Underground for a couple of gigs in the mid 2000s, and have been coming back ever since. But haven't been here for 10 years prior to that. You know, so actually kind of cool.
Yeah, because you've built it. You know, you've built it because, I mean, I know. I think I've mentioned this before. I think that I saw you guys playing with Halloween in Manchester all those years ago.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, that's right. And there was a big chunk of time where you just, Overkill ain't coming over here, and then all of a sudden you kind of like started, and now you're a regular. I was going to say fixture. That's a bit of an insult, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a fixture, but for sure, it becomes a regular vacation stop for us, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. And maybe we're talking about opening for those guys and doing Kentish Town at the Forum was.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a good thing for us. In hindsight, I didn't want to open for them. But I mean, no insult to them.
So did you get outvoted then?
No, we signed a contract and they switched the band on us. I mean, the original band was supposed to be somebody else, and they said you're already on the contract, and then they inserted this. They inserted the Roots thing. We were like, hey, we didn't sign up for this thing, and they said we're going to sue your ass if you.
Wow.
So that's the way business works, and
so you don't get to tell me who the band was originally.
The opener doesn't get to choose the headliner. They said this is going to be the headliner, but the headliner had never signed. So it was just that simple. I mean, there was no animosity or anything. We didn't sign up for this configuration. We were presented something different. So probably if there's fault with it, it's us signing it before the configuration was actually concrete. And in hindsight, again, I think it worked out for us because very simply what your friend said that night, I think others did too.
I think people came out for you big time at that show as well.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
I remember a girl in like the fifth row looked like Debbie Harry from Blondie, and she had the dark lipstick on and the hair, and she's like on the top of the crowd, and I'm like, Debbie Harry is crowd surfing? Never in my fucking dreams.
Brilliant. Well, it was.
I just wanted to ask, what time do you need to be wrapped up by? Because you've got 2 more.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all.
I don't know.
You tell me when you need to.
I think we're going to have to cut it because we're on early, I think.
You're on at 9:20. 9:20. It's up to you.
Yeah, wrap it up in 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
5 minutes?
Yeah, no worries.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Good.
Thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. No problem.
You're on the air.
Yeah. All that's staying in, by the way, Claire.
Shit.
Claire is on the air.
Yeah, sure. No, I think I totally work for you. But sometimes fuck-ups turn out not to be fuck-ups. Don't they? I mean, how many times does that happen in the studio? Someone does something and they go, sorry about that, or I need to do that again. And everyone else is like, no, you don't.
Keep it.
Yeah.
Double it.
Yeah. I can't. I don't know what I did. Yeah. Shit, I suppose that sounds like my whole summer. It's kind of like I'm really intrigued to find out who the headline band was before.
Yeah, I'm not going to just.
Yeah.
And this is, believe me, this is no shot to the Cavalier Boys. I mean, that's,
No.
I mean, that's their thing. I just thought it was going to be something different.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, they were the artistic bunch, and we were the Sledgehammers. So it kind of worked out for us for anybody coming to see a Sledgehammer. That we were prepared. So.
Yeah, no, but look, people who wanted to see that thing were there for that thing, and people who wanted to see you guys were there for you guys. And I think there was a fairly small, if you look at a Venn diagram, there's a very small sort of crossover of people who were there to see both.
But I think it opened the eyes of both sides.
But I mean, we've got to do more of that. There's a place for Overkill destruction flots. But there's also a place for playing to other people's crowds.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, I think, in the current day. So I think that you're probably right that situation was unique unto itself. I mean, it's we've gone out. We took Niall out a few years ago, and that's a little different too. We took him out to the States, and it was a great tour because we were grabbing from the death guys who were born of thrash riffs, at one time or another in their life, and the young death kids were going, this is good, this Overkill stuff is good. So it was a really packed tour in the States. We actually did one with Symphony X.
Oh right, yeah.
So I mean, just for the gray area mentality.
Every night you got to be on it.
Yeah, right. These guys are virtuosos of what they do. I mean, they're progressive. Russell's great singer. Awesome. And Mike Romeo, gosh, and forget about it. Then the year prior it was Overkill Creator through the States, but that's just cousins from another mother. Speezy says we're brothers from another mother.
That is heaven right there for any kind of North American thrash fan.
Well, and that's the mentality of this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's without doubt. There's I made the point to Eric, and I might have even mentioned it to you already. It's three headliners.
Yeah.
Come on, you could be at any point. You could be buying a ticket with any one of these bands as the headline act.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So for the UK, I think it's a real treat. Real treat. Yeah. And it's three bands who didn't take the 90s off. It's I've been around forever. It's very, very cool. It's very, very cool. Well, look, Bobby, I could talk to you all day, but you know how it is. I really appreciate your time. I really do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Stay tonight, or?
Oh, of course. And thank you very much for putting that email in about our album as well.
Yeah.
Very good of you.
I didn't know that you actually had those contacts, but.
What a top man. And he even didn't mind me going back in and asking some more questions because I'd forgotten to ask the Patreon questions. Because, of course, Patreon listeners get to ask their own questions prior to the interview. They give them to me, I ask them, and then they get their very own Bollocast every month. It's only $5, folks. Actually, I think it's $6 including tax. It's less than a couple of coffees. It's certainly less than a couple of beers. You get a shed load of content. Whenever I meet bollockers, they all seem to be really happy. The patrons always seem to be really happy with the content that I'm providing. It's very cheap. You can go to patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. There you can sign up. There is also a link on the Twitter account. There's a link on the Facebook account, and that will take you straight to Patreon. If you want to become a patron, it'd be really cool. Helps me out a great deal. Yesterday, it cost me £18.20 to park in Islington for 2 hours. What? Say fucking what? £18.20. Admittedly, I've got a diesel car from way back in 2015. Yeah, that's right. It's only 4 years old. But I get screwed an extra 25% by those cunts that are Ealing, fucking London Borough of Islington, not Ealing. That's where I live. You stupid cunt, Howard. I tell you what, it's good to have the cunts back, isn't it? I don't know about anyone else, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the power of cunt, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm digging down. I'm feeling it in my very bones. It's fucking awesome. The power of cunt, and the cunts at the London Borough of Islington. Yeah, charge 25%. I think it's 25%. It might be less than that, but it's a fuck of a lot more than everybody because I've got a 4-year-old diesel. You fucking twats. Anyway, halfway through the interview with Bobby there as well, I realised that my parking had expired because the whole timing. Initially, I ended up interviewing him an hour after I was supposed to, and then was it an hour? Shit, no, it was about an hour and a half, hour and 40, whatever. But it turned out I was going to get a parking ticket. My parking was going to expire whilst I was interviewing Bobby, and I just thought, fuck it, never mind, just put it out of my mind. And when I came out, I hadn't got a ticket. Result. But anyway, yeah. Feel free to join Patreon and help me pay for my parking when I go and interview people. It would be nice of you if you would do that. I would really like it. Also, remember, if you're a live show, shout out Bollocks. And if somebody shouts Bollocks back, you shout bollocks back. You shout talking bollocks. You shout talking bollocks, bollocks, bollocks back, talking bollocks. Try that at some gigs. It'd be nice to hear that going on. Yeah, obviously, as you've figured out, I'm coming towards the end of the podcast. One other thing I wanted to fucking talk about, there's really no need for that. This is unbelievable. This is completely unbelievable. But this actually happened. I mentioned on the last episode about the Frank Zappa hologram. Now, I think that could potentially work because it's not, it's not what the Dio hologram is, which is an embarrassment. It's more of an experience. Hence, it's called the experience, right? And there is some cartoon penguins that appear on the album, on the publicity. And Ticketmaster cited the image for having so-called questionable content. That's right, cartoon penguin buttocks is what they found really offensive. I mean, what utter fuck... I mean, if you really needed another reason to hate the thieving, legalised ticket tout cunts that are Ticketmaster... If you needed another reason, and you shouldn't need one, but if you needed one, isn't that another one? And as Amit Zappa put it, if you're someone that can't enjoy the absurdity and humour of bringing Frank's music and lyrics to life via holograms, such as penguins in bondage, talking hot dogs and supernatural dental floss, then this show might not be your cup of tea. In response to Ticketmaster, I resubmit the poster artwork with our newly updated warning. Guarantee hiding the buttocks of the cartoon penguin. I mean, seriously, Ticketmaster? The words of Amit Zappa himself. I couldn't agree more. What a fucking absolute set of cunts. I mean, it really... Why would anyone need another reason to hate Ticketmaster? But isn't that just one? Isn't that just a perfect fucking reason? So anyway, folks, we are coming towards the end of the of said podcast / Bollocast, and I thanks again to Pete Gray for that name. It is superb. It really fucking is. Oh God, can't go before I forget. Murder in the Front Row. I have the book. They've turned it into a movie. Trailer looks awesome. It looks fucking awesome. Try and track it down wherever you can. There is a trailer on YouTube. I don't know where it's available for streaming or anything like that. But seriously, the book is great. The trailer looks awesome and looks like it's actually doing the book some real justice. So whatever you do, make sure you try and track that down. Now, we are going to come towards the end of the podcast. So before I go into the actual ending, I want to say, as always, thank you very much to all of you for just being there, for listening to the podcast, for listening to the Bollocast, for signing up at Patreon, for tweeting, for getting on the Facebook page. Thank you. I really appreciate it. For listening to Bollocks Radio on YouTube. I just need you to please spread the word. Please. Figures are stagnating. It's really, really getting to the stage where I need to see some growth. I need you, please, in any way you can, just share this shit. Just share it. In fact, go old school. Remember back in the day when I told you to take phones off people and open their podcast players and subscribe to Talking Bollocks? Start doing that again, please. If you happen to be passing on iTunes, or as I like to call it, massive cunt tunes, but if you happen to be there, don't make a special trip, but if you happen to be there, look up Talking Bollocks, and just, if you can sling a review there, that would be great. I would really appreciate it. Anything any of you can do, whether it's signing up at Patreon, whether it's sharing content, telling people about the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. Please. It's so difficult getting a message out there. I know that from being in a band. The amount of Acid Rain fans who've got no fucking idea. They realise there's this thing called Talking Bollocks. They've got no idea it's me doing a fucking Bollocast. But there you go. So please, please, please help. I really, really, really do appreciate everything you do. I really do. I appreciate the support. But if you can help, that'd be great. And it's going to be awesome to see some of you no, there's no point in me saying that because this will have come out by it's happened. I will have already done my my spoken word show, the Tales from the Book of Thrash, which is going to be in Bridgend Hobos, which I love. I think it's my third time there, so it's very cool. But that's thanks to everybody who came along to that. There you go. I've actually found a way to make that make sense. Thanks for everyone who came along to that. Thank you all very much, very, very much for your support. And finally, I didn't want to start with this. I didn't want to put it anywhere else. And it is going to lead to a piece that I'm going to be putting on the end of the podcast. It's time to talk about Keith Flint. Keith Flint, who passed away, was an absolute one-of-a-kind. The Prodigy were a one-of-a-kind. I mean, to think that there's a band out there that can headline dance, trance, metal, festivals, can play anywhere and be embraced and loved and welcomed is absolutely unbelievable. Jace, who's producing the Acid Rain album, he met Keith a few times, friends of friends, and a few people that I've met. In fact, some of the guests, friend of mine, Gizbutt, who was in Prodigy for a while, he found out as well, and he's obviously felt it hard. And I just really, 49, 1 year older than me, singer in a band, suicide. Seems to be, we're losing a lot of singers in bands, guys, and it's not good. It's really not. And of a certain age as well. We do need to talk. We need to talk more about mental health. But before I do say that, I saw this about Keith, and I thought it was a lovely way to sum him up. Keith Flint, but a fire once started, lights those who are warmed by its flames, and it's their duty to bear it forwards even when that spark has died, because in it we live forever. And I just thought that was absolutely beautiful and a really fitting tribute to Keith Flint. And we need to talk about mental health, guys. I don't want to end on a downer because I love you all, and I do want you all to go away and have a wonderful, wonderful month until I speak to you again. There's a little bit on the end here that I need you to listen to, which I'm sure you're going to find very, very interesting. This is the first time that it's been on the Bollocks. This is the first time I'm sharing this with you. Be safe. See ya. Hi guys, it is I, Howard Smith, Howard H. Smith, nonetheless, from Acid Rain. I also have the podcast Talking Bollocks. Please do check it out sometime. And I do comedy, stand-up comedy as well. So busy guy. And it's nice to be back on the show. Thanks a lot to DJ Squatter for having me back on as always. I've spoken on the podcast a few times about things. And one particular one that I did that seemed to resonate with quite a few people was about mental health and my own struggles with a particularly bad bout of depression, and how I managed to kind of turn things round. Well, today is a similar-ish conversation, but it's a bit of an odd one, so please bear with me. I was having a conversation with a female friend who lives in the US, and we were having a chat, and she mentioned something in the conversation. Or rather, no, I mentioned something in the conversation, and she said, "Oh, that's interesting, because I react the same way to that." And it was a particular medication. And she said, and that formed part of my adult ADHD diagnosis. And I was like, well, what? Yeah, what now? I thought ADHD was something that kids had, and you gave them Ritalin and everything was fine again. And being American, they're ahead of us. They're ahead of the curve on this one. It was only really generally accepted in medical opinion as recently as 10 years ago that ADHD does not go away. If, like me, I mean, I'm 48, coming up 49, when I was going to school as a child, it was the 70s and 80s. And it wasn't really, ADHD wasn't really a thing that people looked for in kids. And of course, like anything else, if it goes untreated, it doesn't just go away. People learn to live with it. And I quite clearly have learned to live with it. Well, anyway, what happened was she mentioned this, and straight a couple of days ago, it bounced around in my head, and I thought, I'm going to go on the internet and do a little bit of a search. And I found this. I found a thing on ADHD and how it's present in children and adults and all. And within 2 minutes of reading about ADHD in children and how it affects them and the behaviours, it was like reading a school report. It wasn't just like close. I didn't recognise a few things. I was just, this is me. This is me as a child. Absolutely. Easily distracted, distracts others, clearly intelligent but doesn't do the work, willing participant in lessons, struggles with written work. And it's not that I'm struggling to actually to be able to do it, to have the will to do it. Because what I was unable to do was connect with subjects that didn't interest me. I couldn't just do the work. I had to be interested. I had to be engaged. And if I wasn't going to do the work. So anyway, I read this and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And then I went and did an online quiz, and on there it says, this is not a diagnosis, this is not a medical diagnosis, this is only a guide. And it was about 50 odd questions, and if you got between 20 and 30, you were okay. If you got over 30, between 30 and 40, you had some issues. Anything over 40, then you should, look at potentially an ADHD diagnosis. And I got 51 out of 54. So I thought, right, do you know what? I need to sort this out. And I went to see my GP, and he said, I've got a very cool GP who's a very, very nice guy. And he said, look, adult ADHD, or as I call it, ADHD. I mean, that's what it is. There's no need for the extra A. It's not ADHD, it's ADHD. It's undiagnosed from being a child. So, you don't call a child with a broken leg, oh, it's a child's broken leg. It's a broken leg. Same way you don't call an adult's broken leg an adult broken leg. I'm going on, but you get the picture. So anyway, there you go. There's a perfect example of ADHD right there. Can't stick to the subject, can I? Gotta go off on a tangent. Anyway, he said, look, the NHS is rubbish for this. Go private. So I said, okay, thanks for your honesty. I went private. I rang reception of a place in Harley Street, and the woman on reception straight away knew more about ADHD in adults, as I'm going to call it, than anybody I'd spoken to since. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then I realised, of course, it's part of the sales process, isn't it? They're showing off how much they know already. So I just hand over. So anyway, at £750 an appointment, folks. I wasn't going to do that. So what I did was I got on the internet and I started searching adult ADHD, NHS, and I can't remember exactly the search terms, but I found a hospital in the Maudsley Hospital over in South London that specialises in in adult ADHD. So I thought, right, okay. I went back to see my doctor and I said, I asked for a telephone appointment. I rang through and I said, look, I've spoken to these people. I'm in the London Borough of Ealing. They say they accept referrals from London Borough of Ealing. Can you refer me? And he said, yep, no problem. Send the email to reception. I'll go online, fill in the referral. No problem. Great. Lovely. Job done. But then we have to wait for the local authority to approve funding for me to be able to go over there. Got the funding, went over there. And at this point, I have to say, my GP is very cool. He's got 1,000,001 things to do. Why? He's never going to have time to sit on the internet and try and find somewhere for me to go. But I kind of felt like that was my job. Look, if I want to get out of this hole, if I want to get a diagnosis, then it's up to me. So what I'm saying is, if any of you out there, if any of this is ringing any bells and you want to go down the same route, be warned. Not everybody's as cool as my GP. There's some horrendous stories of GPs sitting there laughing at people going, "Oh, ADHD is something that only children have. Don't be so silly." And what you do is you punch those idiots right in the face. You don't, and I'm not recommending that. But I decided to go on this quest and find somewhere that I could get to. And then we got the funding approved. I went for 2 interviews, both an hour and a half, both with clinical psychologists. I had to fill in over 60 questions, and I had to print them out, and I had to read them and tick the boxes. Have you any idea how hard that is when you've got ADHD? Or have I? Let's wait and see. I think you know where this is heading. So I mean, I felt like turning up with these like 10 pages of 60 questions and completely unfilled in and going, "How's that for ADHD for you?" I ain't filling that out. So I filled them out. I also had to send forms to my mother, who filled forms out about my childhood. They wanted school reports. I didn't have any, unsurprisingly. I ain't going to keep those. Not very flattering. But about halfway through the second appointment, the psychologist turned around to me and said, "Look, just not to keep you hanging on, yes, you have ADHD." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And she was like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, I knew as soon as I started reading about it, it was just me. I can't tell you how unsurprising this diagnosis is. It is just straight away, I was just, yeah, that's me. And really, this has just been a quest to confirm what I think I already knew, and I did. Now, ADHD can raise its ugly head in all sorts of different ways. Luckily for me, I'm a creative person, and a lot of creative people, I was told I was the 9th comedian that this particular psychologist had seen within the last 2 years. So there you go. Now, luckily for me, I'm quite a creative person. So my ADHD is manifested in being very creative and doing all sorts of different projects. And I mean, you know, I'm self-employed, and I have about 6 different things that I do. So, you know, so that's all very well. But basically, some of those questions were quite disturbing in the forms leading up to diagnosis. There was a lot of questions there about alcohol addiction, drug addiction, how often you drink, how often you do drugs, problems with the law, prison sentences. You see, this is how destructive ADHD can be in an adult, because ADHD it manifests itself in several ways. For instance, one of the questions that kept coming up is, do you feel almost driven by a motor? Now, for those of you who have got no idea what I'm talking about, that will not resonate with you at all. You'll think, well, what does that question even mean? However, if you have ADHD, you see that and you tick yes all the time. There are other things. People with ADHD tend to have their own set of laws. They you know, and often, for instance, I do not queue. Right? People with ADHD do not queue. You see a queue and you just think, yeah, that's not for me. If I'm in a traffic jam, I will take a detour. That detour may take me, I might even arrive later than if I'd sat in the traffic jam, but I cannot sit in the traffic jam. Cannot. It's not that I'm refusing to, it's that I cannot. I can be very forgetful, losing keys. Often I'll leave something that's vitally important to a project. I'll have missed it or I'll have left it out. And it can be incredibly frustrating. And that's just, it manifests in all sorts of different ways. But as I said, having our own kind of sets of rules means that some people tend to break certain society's rules, like laws. So whilst I say I'm lucky as a creative person, ADHD is for me, I feel like it's been almost like a benefit. I don't think I would have got my band signed to a record label at 17 if I was stuffed full of Ritalin. But it can be destructive, untreated. It can manifest itself in all sorts of ways. It can lead to not being able to hold jobs down, constantly changing jobs, brushes with the law, alcoholism, drug addiction. I mean, wow. I mean, for me, I kind of feel like, you know, the side effects for me have been positive. But having said that, the older I get and it's being untreated, there are things that I would like to address. I find it very, very, very difficult to concentrate on written work which can be a real frustration when I'm working on a project. And it really can. It can also mean that I had to be honest with myself and think, wow, I look back at all of the relationships I've ever been in, and I figured that basically until the last relationship I was in, funnily enough, a couple of years ago, I have been the one who has been chucked every single time. And I have to admit that is down to it can be very wearing being around people who have ADHD. People who have ADHD tend to gravitate towards other people who have ADHD because like I said, it can be very wearing. You can get worn out by somebody who's got ADHD because they are just on all the time, and I accept that. And that must be very difficult to live with and be around all the time. I've had a number of long distance relationships in my life. That makes sense to me now because that's me in small doses, and those long distance relationships have last lengthy times. But it's me in small doses. It's not them having me in their face all the time. I mean, I often joke about if you think it's bad for you, just think how it is for me. I have to live with me, and that's kind of become less of a joke and more of a reality as time has moved on and as I've received my ADHD diagnosis. So initially I was, how is it treated, I hear you say? Well, it's treated with, basically it's a neurological disorder, which my psychiatrist told me when I was really not bothered about the diagnosis. And she said, "Well, no, it is a neurological disorder." And I was like, "Look, you're not going to get me to feel bad about this. I'm fine. But the way it's treated is with my old friend CBT, which is tweaked especially for people with ADHD, which is why CBT was so useful to me when I was in a bout of severe depression previously in life, and why I took to it like a duck to water. But it can also be treated with certain medication. And initially I was reluctant to go down that route, but I have actually this week decided to give it a go because I figure, well, what harm can it do? Basically I was told, there is medication that will help you concentrate, which would be awesome, but they couldn't speak to how it might affect my creativity. So initially it was a knee-jerk reaction, and I was quite blinkered, I have to say. It was like, medication, not a chance, I'm not doing that. But then I've just thought, it can't hurt, and I can always come off it if I don't like what it does to me. But I shouldn't rule anything out at this stage. So anyone who's spotting the things I'm talking about, either in themselves or in people you know, or in your children, for instance, being loud. ADHD when I was a kid would have been called ants in your pants. Okay, and it's not just ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There's also ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. There you go. So little attention, I can't remember what it's called. But if you're recognizing any of this, like say just constantly being on the move, talking a lot, getting up and walking around when there doesn't seem to be, when you shouldn't do, or there doesn't seem to need to be, kids who love climbing all the time and can't resist climbing on stuff. I mean, look, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not saying that children can't be hyperactive, and if they are, then they have ADHD. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not saying that. But if anything that I've said is ringing a bell for any of you, then jump on DuckDuckGo search engine, not Google, because they track you and sell your data. DuckDuckGo.com is a brilliant search engine that doesn't track your searches and doesn't keep your data. But if you're a Google slave, then go for it. But it's worth looking into. That's all I'm saying. It is definitely worth looking into, because undiagnosed, like I said, it could have some seriously negative effects. For me, here I am, 48, about to turn 49, single. I would like to be in a relationship. I would like to think that the single life isn't going to be the way I spend the rest of my life. I honestly don't know. But it's a journey, isn't it? And you never know when you're going to meet somebody, and they're going to get tired of you because you've got ADHD. All I'm saying is introspection, looking inside for solutions to problems in your life is so important, because so often I've spent so much of my life looking externally, going from job to job before I became self-employed a few years ago, going from job to job and then being in a job for 2 or 3 years and going, oh God, I just can't stand this guy. And then it just keeps happening. And at some point or another, 6 or 7 jobs in, you've got to go, well, hang on, what's the one thing that connects all of those jobs? It's me, isn't it? And again, I'm not saying that if you keep changing jobs, you've got ADHD. No, I'm not saying that. But looking within and introspection is so important. Examining yourself, being honest with yourself, speaking to professionals, speaking to counsellors, it is vital for the mental health if you have any kind of problems whatsoever. And, I'm contactable all over the place. If you message or tweet Acid Rain, I will come back to you. If you message or tweet Talking Bollocks podcast, I'll come back to you. If you message or tweet Keith Platt at Twitter or on Facebook, I'll come back to you. And if you want to talk at all, I'm here. But I'm not a professional, and the people that you need to speak to are professionals. If anything I've said rings any bells whatsoever. Look, I hate to let you in on more than you cared to know about me, but this I just feel is really important. And I just felt if it's something I'm going through and something that I'm exploring and something I'm dealing with, then surely there's people out there who are exactly the same. And there will be some people who, listening to this, will be that light bulb moment that I had with my friend on the phone. In fact, look, I'll be honest with you. It was about the effects of... I can't be honest with you, actually, because it's not fair on that person, and it might have to be edited out. But ultimately, that light bulb moment that I had on the phone with that person when they went, adult ADHD, never heard of that, and hopefully this little chat might be that moment for somebody else. Look, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all doing fine, and check out, speak to your GP, do some searching, do whatever. If this in any way has helped, I'm just one person listening to this, then it's been worth doing, and it's been worth 20 minutes of my time, and it's been worth 20 minutes of your time listening, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to do exactly that and listen. So as always, people, travel safe, hope you're all well, take care of each other out there, and remember, communication, it is the key to life. I wish you all the very best. See ya.